Good evening and welcome to the Hairenik Media Newscast, bringing you the latest headlines from the homeland and the diaspora, along with community news and more. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan faces mounting criticism over his latest statements made during a visit to Yerevan State University. Addressing students, Pashinyan defended his leadership in the wake of the 2020 war, claiming that Armenia is now more sovereign and independent, pointing to recent deployment of Armenian border troops at all national entry points as proof of progress. These remarks, however, are met with skepticism by large segments of the Armenian population, who question what tangible benefits have emerged from the concessions and remain focused on the scale of what has been surrendered. Critics argue that what Pashinyan presents as achievements are in fact the result of devastating losses, including the surrender of Artsakh. They question whether territorial concessions and military defeat can truly be reframed as national independence. Pashinyan's controversial statements about the Armenian genocide and what he calls the real Armenia have drawn sharp criticism from traditional institutions, including the Armenian Apostolic Church. Many view his rhetoric as an attack on Armenia's historical identity and national values. While the Prime Minister insists that hard decisions were necessary to secure the country's future, many argue that the damage is already done, and that under his leadership, Armenia has become more isolated, more vulnerable, and more divided than ever. The Supreme Spiritual Council of Holy Etchmiadzin has issued a strong condemnation of Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's recent anti-church rhetoric, accusing him of using profane and indecent language and advancing a politically driven agenda aimed at undermining the Armenian Church's authority and diminishing its public influence. The Council warned that such actions threaten national unity both in Armenia and the diaspora, while serving the interests of external Armeniophobic forces. The statement urged state authorities to refrain from interfering in church affairs, stressing that church issues are governed solely by canonical law and lie outside the jurisdiction of state and political figures. It also noted disturbing parallels between these attacks and the slander promoted by Azerbaijani media. Azerbaijan is reportedly laying the groundwork for the demolition of two historic Armenian churches in Stepanakert, the Church of St. Hagop and the Cathedral of the Holy Mother of God, according to Hovik Avanesov, Ombudsman of Culture of the Armenian Highlands. In a statement posted on Facebook, Avanesov cited Azerbaijani media suggesting plans to replace the churches with mosques. He drew parallels with the recent destruction of the Church of the Ascension in Berdzor, where similar proposals preceded its demolition. Avanesov warned of a broader campaign against Armenian cultural heritage in Artsakh, pointing to recent honors given by Azerbaijani authorities to individuals accused of violence against Armenians. He expressed concern that such actions may embolden citizens to further desecrate or destroy Armenian monuments, posing what he described as a serious threat to the region's historical and cultural legacy. At an OSCE conference in Vienna, titled Inclusion as a Way to Promote Tolerance and Non-Discrimination, Azerbaijani speaker Ahmad Shahidov sparked outrage by suggesting Armenia could completely lose its sovereignty in a future war. He further claimed Azerbaijani forces might one day drink Turkish tea in Yerevan and pray in Yerevan's Blue Mosque, drawing strong condemnation for what many see as a direct threat to Armenia's territorial integrity. The Gerard Analytical Foundation condemns Shahidov's remarks as a clear reflection of Azerbaijan's true political agenda, criticizing the absurdity of his imagery and framing it as evidence of Azerbaijan's aggressive stance toward regional coexistence. The foundation urged Shahidov to confine his aspirations for tea drinking and prayer to within the borders of Azerbaijan. Armenian and Azerbaijani representatives met to discuss the fate of those missing due to conflict, emphasizing humanitarian cooperation through joint search efforts and information sharing. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to supporting the families of the missing. Official data reports 993 Armenians missing since the early 1990s and around 200 more unaccounted for after the 2020 war. In an interview with Diplomatic Watch magazine, Azerbaijani ambassador to the U.S. Khazar Ibrahim said a peace treaty with Armenia, even if signed immediately, would not ensure lasting peace unless Armenia amends its constitution, which he claims contains territorial claims against Azerbaijan. He called such amendments inevitable. Ibrahim also urged the formal dissolution of the OSCE Minsk group, calling it outdated and symbolic, and emphasized a regional shift toward peace and stability. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, held a virtual hearing on Azerbaijan's religious freedom violations, highlighting restrictive laws, widespread arrests, and reported abuse. The session focused on Baku's systematic destruction of Armenian religious and cultural sites in Artsakh, describing it as part of a broader campaign to erase Armenian presence and identity following the 2023 occupation. Panelists also cited Azerbaijan's ethnic cleansing of Artsakh, continued detention and abuse of Armenian hostages, and the denial of pilgrimage rights to Armenian Christians, many of whose sacred sites have already been destroyed by Azerbaijan. The session, following the Commission's visit to Azerbaijan in February, featured testimony on war crimes and efforts to erase Armenia's historic presence in Artsakh. The 2025 report urged placing Azerbaijan on the U.S. State Department's special watch list and called for targeted sanctions, international monitoring missions, and conditional aid based on religious freedom improvements. The Armenian National Committee of America welcomed the USCIRF hearing, urging the U.S. to stop enabling Baku's genocidal policies and calling for accountability, return of Artsakh Armenians, prisoner release, and protection of endangered Armenian heritage in Azerbaijan-controlled territories. A joint report by the Center for International and Comparative Law and the Armenian Legal Center for Justice and Human Rights reveals a systemic pattern of evidence falsification and obstruction of justice by Azerbaijan. Backed by findings from Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and the U.S. State Department, the report outlines Azerbaijan's use of fabricated charges, manipulated investigations, and cover-ups of human rights abuses, particularly against Armenians. The report warns of Azerbaijan's lack of judicial independence and urges the international community to scrutinize its legal claims. It also raises serious concerns over Azerbaijan's closure of the International Committee of the Red Cross's Baku office, calling it a major blow to transparency and accountability, particularly concerning Armenian prisoners of war. Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan says dialogue between Armenia and Turkey is progressing more effectively than with some countries that share formal diplomatic ties. Speaking last week, Mirzoyan noted that despite the absence of official diplomatic relations, talks with Ankara have been active and constructive for some time. He pointed to the renovation of the Margara border crossing as a concrete example of progress and emphasized the need to move from dialogue to tangible results. Turning to Armenia's relations with Azerbaijan, Mirzoyan stressed the importance of finalizing the terms of a long-awaited peace treaty, which remains unsigned. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan exchanged greetings for Eid al-Adha and the upcoming European Political Community Summits, which both Armenia and Azerbaijan will host in 2026 and 2028 respectively. The leaders reaffirmed their commitment to regional dialogue and cooperation. Pashinyan has also congratulated Azerbaijan on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Artsakh President Samvel Shahramanyan was questioned for the fifth time in 2 weeks by Armenia's Investigative Committee, amid growing concerns about political pressure to block his re-election. Shahramanyan is being questioned as a witness in a criminal case related to Azerbaijan's September 2023 military offensive, which led to the mass displacement of Artsakh's population. The investigation is focused on potential negligence in the surrender of the Artsakh Defense Army's weapons to Azerbaijani forces. No formal charges have been filed. His lawyer Roman Yeritsyan stated that the case was opened in October 2023, but questioned why his client is only now being repeatedly interrogated nearly 19 months later, urging investigators to clarify the timing and intent. Environmental groups in Turkey staged a protest in Igdir calling for the immediate shutdown of Armenia's Medzamor nuclear power plant, citing environmental and health risks, despite its decades of operation under international oversight. The demonstration comes as Turkey nears completion of its own Russian-built Akuyu nuclear power plant in Mersin province, raising accusations of hypocrisy. Critics argue Ankara's concerns are politically motivated, pointing out Akuyu's location is a seismically active zone. Armenian officials defended Medzamor's safety record, noting its compliance with international standards and International Atomic Energy Agency supervision. As Armenia moves to extend Medzamor's operation beyond 2025, tensions over nuclear energy in the region are set to grow. Critics see Turkey's protests as a geopolitical tactic rather than genuine environmental concern, accusing Ankara of using environmental rhetoric as diplomatic leverage. With Akuyu nearing activation, regional nuclear tensions are expected to intensify. France has officially opened an honorary consulate in Goris, located in Armenia's strategically significant Syunik province. Led by Carmen Apunts, director of Goris's Francophonie Center, the honorary consulate, offering limited consular services and cultural engagement, was chosen over a full consulate due to the small French population in the Syunik region, as explained by French Ambassador Olivier de Cotigny's. The ceremony drew high-level Armenian and French officials and underscored Goris's strong cultural and cooperative ties with France, including long-standing French-language education efforts. The move comes amid increasing diplomatic interest in Syunik, where Iran recently opened a consulate and Russia announced plans for one, highlighting the region's growing geopolitical significance. As Syunik province attracts growing international interest, the contrast between high-level diplomacy and local hardship is becoming increasingly visible. Beyond the wave of diplomatic spotlight in towns like Goris, Syunik's border villages such as Khoznavar, Vagatur, and Artsakh are facing mounting challenges. According to MP Garnik Danielyan, ongoing security threats, economic collapse, increasing unemployment, and rising migration are taking a heavy toll on these communities. The aftermath of the 2020 war and the handover of the Berdzor area have left these communities exposed to shelling, direct threats, and significant loss of farmland, severely impacting traditional livelihoods such as livestock farming and beekeeping. These hardships are further compounded by poor infrastructure, new taxes, and limited access to natural resources, fueling a deep sense of abandonment and hopelessness among residents. While foreign flags rise over new consular buildings in Goris, the daily struggles of Syunik's border communities continue with little relief, revealing a region caught between growing diplomatic attention and ongoing local neglect. On June 7, Valentina Matvienko, chairwoman of Russia's Federation Council, visited Yerevan to reaffirm Moscow's commitment to regional peace and stability. The visit follows Armenia's recent partnership agreement with the United States earlier this year and comes amid ongoing shifting regional dynamics. In meetings with Armenian officials, Matvienko discussed political, economic, and cultural cooperation, along with the ongoing peace process with Azerbaijan. The Russian official dismissed reports of a crisis in Armenia-Russia relations. There is no crisis of trust, Matvienko told reporters, stressing that both countries remain committed to strengthening ties. She added that there are no problems in the relations between President Vladimir Putin and Pashinyan. Meanwhile, a small group of pro-Western activists staged a protest outside the Armenian National Assembly on Friday, opposing the official visit of the chairwoman of Russia's Federation Council to Yerevan. The demonstrators told reporters their goal was to send a message that Armenia no longer considers Russia a reliable ally. While the world continues to uphold the promise of never again, Turkey has unveiled a monument in Ankara honoring Talat Pasha, the chief architect of the Armenian Genocide. The unveiling ceremony, attended by Ankara's mayor, praised Talat as a national hero, despite his direct responsibility for the systematic extermination of 1.5 million Armenians in 1915. Human rights organizations and Armenian communities worldwide have denounced the event as more than denial. It is a state-sponsored glorification of a war criminal. This act sharply contrasts with the justice delivered nearly a century ago, in 1921, when Soghomon Tehlirian, a young Armenian genocide survivor who lost his family, assassinated Talat in broad daylight in Berlin. Part of Operation Nemesis, a covert Armenian mission to hold genocide perpetrators accountable. Tehlirian's assassination was met with widespread moral support and led to his acquittal by a German court. Tehlirian's courageous act remains a powerful and lasting symbol of resistance, rejecting historical denial and the enduring failure to hold perpetrators accountable. His legacy continues to endure as a voice against injustice, unpunished atrocities, and the deliberate erasure of historical truth. Azerbaijan is intensifying its anti-India rhetoric with the upcoming release of Divided Paradise, a state-sponsored film accusing India of anti-Islamic actions in Kashmir. The film, shot in Pakistan-controlled territory, promotes a hostile narrative amid worsening Baku-New Delhi ties, especially after Armenia strengthened its defense cooperation with India. The Aram Manoukian Institute for Strategic Planning has released a new white paper titled Solving the Energy Trilemma, Armenia's Transition to Energy Abundance, offering a bold roadmap to reduce Armenia's reliance on imported energy and move toward a resilient, sustainable future. Authored by Vardan Adibekyan and Riti Agarwal, with input from Ellie Sandler, the report addresses Armenia's ongoing struggle to balance energy security, affordability, and sustainability, challenges worsened by heavy dependence on Russian fuel and outdated infrastructure. Key recommendations include diversifying imports through regional partnerships, expanding clean energy projects like Mazrik 1 and Ike 1, electrifying key sectors, and tapping into global climate finance. The study warns that continued delay could deepen inequality and hinder economic growth, urging policymakers to act decisively. Already drawing attention from decision makers and development partners, the white paper is being positioned as a strategic blueprint for Armenia's energy transformation. The full white paper is available on Institute webpage, arammanoukyaninstitute.org. Over 260 Armenian youth from 13 AYF chapters across the eastern region, joined by members from AYF Western USA and Australia, gathered for the 53rd Annual Armenian Youth Federation Youth Organization of the ARF Junior Seminar under the theme Miatsial Baikar, United Struggle, held over Memorial Day weekend in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. The seminar remains the largest annual gathering of juniors in the eastern region, uniting youth for a weekend of education, cultural pride, and reflection, and empowering them to embrace their role in the Armenian cause. The weekend's programming focused on key moments in Armenian history, cultural preservation, and the current challenges facing the Armenian nation. Through impactful lectures, hands-on activities, and leadership training, AYF Juniors explored the enduring themes of resistance, unity, and identity. Cabin names honored historic sites, battles, and national heroes like Sasun, Van, and Karekin Nejde, linking today's youth to a powerful legacy of struggle. Lectures reinforced the seminar's central message that our collective fight for justice, identity, and the Armenian homeland continues. Highlights included a new junior t-shirt design contest, an essay competition, and spirited traditional dances that capped off the weekend. The seminar was a moving display of commitment and unity as the next generation stood together in song and purpose, waving Armenian flags and pledging to carry the cause forward. In sport, Sargis Stepanyan, a decorated Armenian war hero and triple amputee, has won gold at the 2025 European Para-Armwrestling Championship in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, defeating his Georgian opponent in the men's 80-kilogram final. This marks his 5th European title in para-arm wrestling. A former Special Forces officer who lost both legs and his right arm during a 2014 rescue mission in Artsakh, Stepanyan has since become a symbol of resilience and determination, turning to sports as a path to recovery and purpose. With 3 world titles in para-arm wrestling and 2 in arm wrestling, his latest victory reinforces his legacy as one of Armenia's most inspiring and accomplished athletes. June 6 marked the 122nd birth anniversary of Aram Khachaturian, one of the most influential Armenian composers of the 20th century. Known worldwide for his iconic works like the ballads Gayane and Spartacus, Khachaturian's saber dance has become a global cultural staple, instantly recognizable and widely celebrated. His music, characterized by vibrant harmonies, bold and dynamic rhythms, and deep roots in Armenian folk traditions, helped elevate Armenian classical music to the international stage. In recognition of his lasting cultural impact, UNESCO included his manuscripts and film scores in its Memory of the World Register in 2013. Khachaturian's legacy continues to inspire musicians and audiences alike, serving as a powerful expression of Armenian identity and artistic excellence. And with that, we conclude tonight's newscast. We leave you now with a performance of one of Aram Khachaturian's most celebrated pieces, Saber Dance, a tribute to a composer whose music continues to echo across generations.